Hi everyone, and welcome to Therapy Unfiltered. I'm Joe Valder, clinical counselor here, counseling services at Johnson & Wales University. On this show, we take the mystery out of mental health and help you understand what it's really like to sit on the couch. It's time to take a deep breath and dive in. Hello everyone, and welcome. Once again, this is Joe Valder, LMHC, and I'm a clinical counselor over there at the Johnson & Wales Counseling Services. And I'm very excited for today's episode because we're going to be doing something a little different than our previous episodes, and that is we're going to be checking out and thinking more about a resource on campus. To that end, we have a very special, very exciting guest today, and I'm happy to say certainly a friend of the show, Mike Waugh. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, very excited to have you. And I always think that, well, before I talk about that, let me just highlight why you're here and what I think a good approach for today's show will be. And that is to talk about, resources on campus, specifically related to, your role here as, Director of Inclusion and Belonging, and also, just talking about connection for students on campus. Because obviously that's a big part of mental health, right? A big thing is feeling like you have a space and feeling like you have people and having that connection and all things related to it. So before we get started, Mike, because I love food, as we've talked about before, and I understand you're, also a food fan. So imagine yourself, let's say, on a Wednesday, and you've decided to head out into Providence for lunch. Where are you, Mike? Where are you going?
If I have time to get there, I would go up to Den Den on Benefit Street. That's one of my favorite restaurants in Providence. It's where my kids always ask to go when we go out to eat. But they have some great Korean food, and often we have some students who are working there, so it's always fun to see them doing their thing.
Oh, wow. No, I've never heard of that place.
It's good.
Yeah, so what's your go-to order there?
I really like the Korean chicken. It's like a stir-fry, spicy kimchi chicken stir-fry. They have really good ramen that's got some spice to it, or they have the bibimbap and the stone pot bowl that kind of keeps cooking while you're eating it.
So wow. Sounds like some good options.
Yeah.
All right. And so, Mike, just a bit more about you. As I understand, you've had a few different roles here at JWU, right?
I have. I've been here for, I'm just coming up on 17 years, which kind of blows my mind when I say it out loud. So my background is actually in international education. I came to Rhode Island back in 2007 after finishing up my graduate degree in both Vermont and Peru. I thought I was just stopping by Rhode Island before moving off somewhere far away again. But I applied for a job here at Johnson & Wales, and I've been here ever since. I love it here at the university. I love it here in Providence. So I'm here. I started out as an international student advisor in JWU Global, helping our international students understand and follow all the regulations that are part of being an international student in the United States, as well as just the whole cultural adjustment piece to enrolling in a new school in a new country. And then from there, I took over oversight of study abroad, so helping all of our students go out and study all around the world. And then since 2013, I have been in the Bridge in a few different roles. So we can get more into what the Bridge is all about as we go on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike. And yeah, I was so happy to have you on here because I love the Bridge. I've only been at JWU for about 2 years or so, but the very first time I went there to, I think, meet with you during my, when I was first starting my orientation and whatnot, and just that space, I just love it. It's I find it very calming and just like a very comfortable space. And I think it's an important space to have on a campus. And so can you tell us, a bit more about some of the function that the Bridge plays here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I love the space of the Bridge. So we're physically located in the Xavier complex on the Down City campus. It's actually the oldest building that's part of our campus here in Providence, not the building that we've owned first, but just the building that was built first in the 1890s. And the Bridge has been several different things over the years, but it's always been a space on our campus for students to connect with one another and to provide support for students whose identities may have been historically underrepresented in higher education. So our space, it's really cozy and comfortable, and we can do lots of different things in there. So it can serve as an event space, and we have a screen and projector and an audio system and all that. So it's a great space for programs and panels and things like that. But really, during the daytime, we try to keep it available for students to just drop in and hang out. So we have the only piano that's publicly accessible on campus. We have phone chargers. Students will often come and drop off their lunch in our fridge in the morning and then come back later on in the day to study and eat. It's a place for group meetings, to study or relax, or just to seek connection. We have a really great student staff in the Bridge, probably about 14 or 15 students, and they're all just super friendly and knowledgeable, and a good place to come and to meet some people if you're looking to connect.
Yeah, and that's the piece of it that I often bring up with students that I meet with is the connection and meeting people. Because obviously, especially with first-year students, it can be a big challenge coming to a university, especially if you don't know anyone and you don't happen to have any friends that are coming here, and perhaps you didn't meet anyone during your student orientation or whatever it is. And it's hard, you're not going to meet many new folks just sitting in your dorm by yourself, unfortunately. And, and it's hard too, because, Johnson Mill doesn't have what might be a typical student union type space, and so I often point to the Bridge as a space to go where just by happen chance, it's just by, whatever random happenings in the world, you might stumble upon somebody.
Yeah, I find it's a great place for especially first-year students or students in their first semester. We see a lot of students come in and just kind of looking for community and connection. And sometimes that happens in the Bridge, and the students become incredibly connected to the space and the work of the Bridge, and they end up getting student assistant jobs with us and being a big part of the Bridge throughout their degree. And then sometimes we have students come in and kind of find their place and find their people, and we don't see them as much anymore. And that's great too, because we know that we just kind of helped students get over that initial bump of trying to find some community, and then they're doing great.
Yeah, no, certainly. And, I think too, because I've, as you can imagine, speak with many students who maybe have some tension or challenges in their dorm, or for whatever reason their dorm's just not a comfortable space. And you need those alternative spots on campus. And then also you have a few other events and weekly things happening at the Bridge as well, right?
We do. We have something called Artful Afternoons that just started this fall. We know students are looking for outlets for creativity. So every week we'll do facilitated sessions where students can come in and paint or do origami, or we've done flower pot painting, or all different kinds of crafts. And while the crafting part is fun and interesting, what we find is it really just serves as a way for students to sit around a table together and connect and talk while they're doing something with their hands. They express their creativity, but also connect with other people.
Exactly, and I think it's a lot easier too when you're engaged in another activity. It can be a little challenging if you're just in a room just expected to speak with other people.
It's a lot easier to sit at a table and pick up a paintbrush and let the conversation kind of organically start than it is to just walk up to somebody you don't know, at least for me.
No, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's just a great part of the Bridge. And then anything else other things that happen at the Bridge, or other?
Yeah, so what is really interesting is at the end of the afternoon, the Bridge just transforms into an event space. So in the evening time, lots of different student clubs and organizations host their own events in the Bridge. So we're always excited to see all the different things that our student community brings to campus to share with their peers. We also work to ensure that lots of different holidays and history and heritage months are represented and celebrated on campus. So there's always things happening in the Bridge around Black History Month, Native American Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, and so on. So one example is Black History Month is coming up in February, and we're working with the Black Student Alliance, Student Engagement, and the University Involvement Board, and we're going to turn the Bridge into a museum for a day. We're bringing in an organization called the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and they're going to share all kinds of artifacts and activities relating to our country's history, and students can just come in and check all these things out over the course of an entire day.
Yeah, that really sounds great, Mike. And what about on a more individual student basis? Let's say there's an individual student who, finds himself having difficulty connecting, feeling like they're, maybe not similar to anyone on campus that they've met so far. Would you say are you a good resource for that? Or is the bridge itself, like, could that person just come to you and be like, hey, I'm having trouble?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do a lot of different things in the bridge, ranging from one-on-one student support up to providing programming and supports for our entire university community. So in terms of one-on-one support, any student is welcome to come on into the bridge anytime, and we can just talk. So a lot of students like to meet one-on-one to talk about things maybe around identity development, maybe if they're still kind of looking to figure out how to authentically express who they are or seek supports and resources around that. Myself and the Bridge are a great place to come for that, as well as Karina Ramsland Short. She is our Director of Student Support and Advocacy Services, and her office is located in the Student Affairs Suite over at the Harborside campus. In addition to identity development, we're also a place students can come in to discuss more difficult things that they may be experiencing. So I can provide one-on-one support around experiences with bias, or students who've experienced or know someone who's experienced sexual violence or relationship violence. So most professionals here on campus are considered mandatory reporters, meaning if they learn about sexual assault and relationship violence, they're mandated to report it to law enforcement. But there are some private supports on campus in addition to counseling services and health services. Myself and Karina, who I just mentioned, we're the only people students can come to disclose something that happened and talk about what it might look like to report it, and then make that decision whether they want to report it or not. And then we can provide supports all around that process.
Yeah, wow. A lot of good info right there, Mike. I just, like, as you were talking, I was like, oh man, I wanted to ask so many other follow-up things and whatnot. And well, the first one was, I appreciate you mentioning Karina. I think she's a tremendous resource on campus, and I hope a lot of students have had the opportunity to talk with her. And also, it's one of my podcast personal goals to one day have her on the podcast too. Yeah. Perhaps if we reach that level, we can one day have Karina here. And then also, you mentioned students experiencing bias, and it made me think. And I'm not sure I brought this up to you, so I hope not too thrown off by the question, Mike. But is that a reason someone should seek you out? Is, let's say a student feels as though they've experienced bias. Can they come to you and be like, hey, Mike, this happened to me?
Yep, absolutely. Students are always welcome to come in and share difficult experiences, and then I can provide support in navigating them. And sometimes those things are related to bias, something they have seen, experienced, heard. They can come in and we can kind of talk it out and see what they would like to have done about that. And if students would like to file a formal report, I can show them exactly how to do that. And one of the ways is through JWU Link. Anybody can type report it in the search bar, and you'll see all the reporting forms, including our bias report form. So students will know that it will be investigated and folks will be held accountable if that applies to the situation. But we can also provide support around that for those who are impacted, to make sure that they feel comfortable and try to manage expectations throughout the process and also resolve it in a way that is most comfortable for everybody involved.
Great. Thanks for that info, Mike. And also I wanted to ask too, just about if there's anything else you feel like that happens at the Bridge that is worth mentioning here and talking about more.
Yeah, I think so. Historically, so much of our work has been in person, right? Providing physical space for students to come together and sit down with each other. But one of the things that's really changed over the past few years are opportunities for online or virtual engagement. So the Bridge also provides a lot of resources and opportunities for connection online. And one of the ways we do that is through JWU Link. So one of the primary ways that students communicate and get information online. So the Bridge works with a number of different pages on JWU Link. One is just the Bridge discussion group. We post information about programs, supports, resources that are available. But we also work with colleagues across the university to run the Observing Meaningful Dates page. And what that page is a space to really give visibility and educate our community about different dates, anniversaries, observances, and holidays that all members or any members of our community might be celebrating or observing at any one time, just to give some visibility and take up space. And tied to those dates that we share with folks, we'll often share information about programs, events that might be on campus or in our local community, as well as resources and supports or information if people want to learn more.
It's been really great, Mike. And, this was certainly a lengthy one. So I think, what we'll end up doing is using our, behind the scenes magic and cutting it into two and then bridging it, if you will,
Awesome.
in between two episodes. And I think we'll go from there.
Perfect.